Hi guys, this is Tuti Gogia. In case you are listening this was voice for the very first time, you can go check out my social media handles. And this is season 2 of Stuti Speaks. And today I have a very special guest with me because the guest is really very far and we connected via internet. Her name is Anna, and I actually uh, saw talking like for talking her for the podcast for the first time with one of the Indian matchmaking people, which was Sheetal, if I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, Anna, you can tell that better. So I saw her and I contacted her. She had a podcast named at Life at 30, and when I saw, I actually felt really good that there's someone like that who is doing these kinds of podcasts. So I thought to connect and I asked, and very happily she agreed. So I'm really happy that you agreed, Anna. Over to you. Can you start with your journey, give a bit of your introduction, and then we can come to Life at 30? How your podcast journey going and how's your life journey going? So we can take that one by one. So over to you, Anna.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Anna. I am 37. I started my podcast basically. First of all, I want to thank you for having me also on your podcast. And I started my video podcast with the main reason of kind of getting the conversation of how life is in your 30s. And so, I started it for many reasons. But the main two reasons was it's a hobby of mine. I feel that whenever you are in your 30s, life tends to get very serious. There's a lot of responsibilities. A lot of people are married and they have kids, and so you kind of take a seat back on your own life. And so I think it's important to continue having those hobbies. I think it's important to continue doing things that you enjoy in your 30s and even after 30s. So that was my number one reason. My second reason was representation. I feel that it's really important to have this type of conversations. And, whenever I was turning 30, there wasn't any really guidance on what happens in your 30s. No one was really kind of saying, hey, by the time that you turn 30 and all in your 30s, there's going to be a lot of change happening, not only mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I think it was important to kind of start that conversation. And so, so representation, bringing different guests to my show and kind of sharing everybody's experience on how it's been in their 30s.
Great. That's so good to hear. I'm in the similar age group that you are, in my late 30s. So basically, I'm also 37. So basically, I also experienced the same thing which you are saying. I mean, there are a lot of changes, and sometimes the changes are very radical. They are like so fast growing that you are not able to understand that my life was at certain level, and just it just changed, and you grow a lot, especially spiritually too. So that's the major thing that happened, which was never in your early 20s or late 20s. And being single also add-ons, because there are a lot many questions you ask yourself. I'm sure you must be having those with Sheetal as well. She was of the similar age group. So basically, those kind of changes, so I can really understand and relate to that. But like, how was your personally, how was your 30s, like from 31 to 37? How was your journey of growth? I'm sure there will be a lot of growth, but there would be many things which must happen with you. So yeah, what was your path?
Yeah, so ever since I turned 30, I've always said that I feel that that's whenever my life started. I feel that's whenever I really took control of my life. And that's whenever I decided this is what I really want. And so I started creating goals. I started growing a lot. And like you said, you don't necessarily know how to, navigate through that growth. And so it's really scary sometimes because there are a lot of things that are happening. And so, but I have to say, my 30s have been absolutely amazing. I started off a little rocky, as I feel a lot of people coming into the 30s feel. I have interviewed some of my friends, and, they're like in their early 30s, and they right now don't feel that their 30s have been great. But I always tell them, you know what, hang in there. It does get a lot better. You do become more confident in yourself. and just the way that you are growing, even without you doing anything, just life kind of taking you in different directions. I feel that it's going to bring you to a better place in your life overall. And by the time that you get to your like later 30s, I feel that you are more like a well-rounded person. You're just a little bit more control of your life. You know what you want, you feel more confident about yourself. And so for me personally, my 30s have been great. I've had some major life experiences. I have in my 30s I've traveled abroad overseas for the first time in my life. I got married this year, and hopefully, I will be having my first kid within the next couple of years, even before I turn 40. So, yeah, it's been absolutely amazing.
That's so great. So good to hear that. But then there are times when you feel the turmoil that, I mean, there are some particular goals which you want to reach some particular time, right? And sometimes those goals are not filled. Maybe when you're 32, 33 initially. So how was something like this happened with you? If maybe not you, do you have friends who have experienced that and how they overcome it? Like, I'm sure people who are in after 35, there is a lot of shining and growth happening, but before, like between 31 and 34, there's a lot of things that you kind of want, that this is my goal, and that sometimes not go as per the way or plan. So I would tell you about me. I was about to get married somewhere in 30 when I was 32, I think 31 or 32. That plan didn't work out. It went completely opposite the way I wanted, and very last moment things happened, and I was like, now I have to restart my life again at a certain point. So it was 32 and a half when I actually restarted my life, like to a point where I actually built it from scratch. So how are things like, do you have any opinions about that? Though it later got like really great for me, things went really well, and the growth was exponential for sure. But yeah, I mean, about those periods, do you want to share some your insights about it?
Yeah, so it's funny that you mention that you have to start over. I feel that in life, there's going to be a lot of times, no matter your age, where you feel that you're having to start over. And one of the
Mm.
quotes that I like a lot is that you're not necessarily starting over from scratch, you're starting from experience. And
Wow.
so you already have the experience of what you went through the first time. And that really kind of helps with setting a better path on getting to that goal. And so in a way, you did grow from that experience. You did like gain something, even though it didn't work out. And so I have to say, even in my 37, there is a goal. I have a life goal that I have not been able to meet. And
Hmm.
it's like a constant battle, an internal battle with myself, because there's so many things, there's life happening. And then my goal kind of requires for me to step away from that life that is happening in front of me. And so, and working on that goal, because then I would have to spend my time focusing on something else while there are other things in my life that are happening that also require my time in that moment. So do feel that it is very, very important, especially in your 30s. I know that a lot of people do get married and have kids, in their 20s. But I feel like there's something about your 30s that kind of you have to push yourself a lot more than you did in the past to meet those goals. You have to make it a point to actually kind of take that time and focus on your goal, and not just live in what's happening in front of you. I think that you have to be very intentional with your time. I think that you have to be intentional with your decisions, with your choices. So even up until now, I have not been able, I'm 37 and I haven't been able to do my life dream. It's I'm working on it, but it still hasn't happened for me. And so all I can do is continue trying to be intentional, continue to allocate my time in the one thing that I really want to get out of life, you know?
And that thing, like, really, you said it beautifully. It's all about experience, not about when you're starting. It's all about when you're putting the intention that you want to start in again and put in your efforts. So I think that is so beautiful and so spiritual at the same time. So I am a person who is spiritual, and I take a part of spirituality in my each of podcast. People might kill me for that, but I love it and I love to talk about it. Do you think there was a lot more spiritual growth with which happens in your 30s? Like, if you have something like experience something like that, can you share if you have felt it in your life?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I was not brought up either religious or I wasn't brought up with like spirituality or religious beliefs or anything like that. We didn't, my family just didn't practice it really. And so I know that I want to, believe in a lot of things. It's just a little bit hard when you were not, when there was no representation when you were younger, right? And nobody was talking about it. And so, but there is something that happened to me just recently that I do feel, and I'm kind of hoping it's like an spiritual experience, but my grandmother actually passed away about 3 weeks ago. And so I, she lived in Mexico, but she kind of like, she raised us for a period of my life. And so obviously there was a close bond with her, even though I didn't see her every day. And whenever she passed, I thought that the most amazing thing that happened was seeing how people were talking about her, her friends, the people like, the people that she touched, and I thought, you know what, that's the true meaning of life. How
Mm.
the relationships that you build, how people talk about you whenever you're no longer here, the memories that they have of you. And so I've never experienced someone close passing, and so that was the very first time for me. So I feel that that really gave me a sense of direction on
Mm.
where I want to go in a spiritual sense, but also on my day to day, because I feel like there's a lot more to life than just, doing the everyday routine and, just doing your normal day to day. I feel that I never understood that until that moment, until I saw everybody how much love they had for her. And it completely like changed my opinion about a lot of things. So yeah.
Wow, this was heartwarming. Thank you so much. Amazing. So now let's come to your podcast, like Life at 30. Explain, like, what is Life at 30 all about? In a gist, we talked about it earlier also, but yeah, a bit in detail. And then how are your experiences with the guests? Not in terms that you know them or they're your friends or not friends. Like, I'm sure there's much more learning experience while we talk to people, and with these kinds of high vibrational discussion, there's lot to learn, there's lot to gain. So how was your, like, how do you find your guests, how you invite them, and how is it like? Let's talk about your podcast basically.
Yeah, so my podcast, as I said, it's about life at 30. It's all about bringing different learning experiences to the audience. I want to make sure that whoever listens or watches, they understand that just because you are the same age as somebody else, it doesn't mean you have to be in the same place as that
Hmm.
person. Everybody has different life experiences. Everybody is in a different place in their life. And so, that's, there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of comparison that happens whenever you are on social media and just browsing and everything. And of course, you tend to see a lot of people who look like they have the perfect life, who look like they have the perfect just situation, whether if it's a personal, like situation or in their work life. And so I just think that bringing those different type of experiences and making people listen to the fact that we're the same age, but you are in a different place, and that's okay. It's okay that your life is here, and it's also okay that my life is where it's at, you know. So I basically just kind of I started my podcast just interviewing my friends who are in their 30s, and then now I have kind of like branched out to reaching out to people, different types of people, who I feel some sort of connection with on their experience, their journeys. And so I recently interviewed, Sheetal from the Netflix show Matchmaking, and I actually enjoyed watching her journey on the show. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think, and overall, I think that the steps that she is taking in her 30s to become a better person, that's very admirable, I feel.
Hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I want to reach out to her. All I did was kind of send her an Instagram message, and she accepted, and it was wonderful. It was a great conversation, and I truly like enjoy having her on the show. So yeah, just bringing different types of opinions and experiences.
And as I said, yeah, like you must be having a great learning experience. Like you gain a lot while you talk to people, and then you admire them for what they are doing in their life. Like in late 30s also, they are doing so much trying to work harder on their goals, manifest the life of their dreams. So yeah, completely admirable. So I mean, we are reaching towards the end of our conversation. uh I mean, I want you to give two or three pointers which you feel are very necessary or can add for the people who are in their late 20s or in their starting 30s, that these three tips will help you to I mean, traverse your journey better. Though I know it's personal calling, everybody experience is different, but yeah, two three pointers where you feel that you can help people to traverse their 30s better.
The main two things I would say, number one is don't lose yourself. There's going to be a lot of change, a lot of growth in your 30s. Don't lose yourself. Hang on to yourself and hang on to whatever it is that you want to accomplish, and push through whatever it is that you need to push through to reach that goal. If that's really what you want to do, just keep going, but don't lose yourself. Give yourself some time for you. And then the second point would be, whatever happens, everything's going to be okay. Just
Yeah.
know everything's going to be absolutely okay. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have in the middle. And at the end of the day, everything will be okay.
Yeah, and I would like to add on to that, that I had similar experience when I told you about that thing didn't work out because I was about to get married and things were happening as per my, I mean, my wish only, but it didn't happen. And later I realized, like, I was in very bad shape for few months, but later I realized that happened because there were many more good doors that were opening for me in the upcoming time. If I would have stick to those older doors, they would have taken me nowhere, and my growth path would have been like, I mean, I'm not sure, there would be have ways which were different. So yeah, the second point you said, I would resonate with it completely, that there are much more better doors that always will open for you for your growth. So all you need to do is keep moving on those paths. So yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you so very much, Anna, for coming on the show. I mean, I'm really honored and grateful, specifically for people who live so far, and we have so much of time zone difference, and then we coordinate on those time zones and then meet and talk. So I totally loved having you. Thank you so much. Do you want to say thanks to my listener for listening us, and then I'll end this podcast right here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for bringing me on. Like you said, I enjoy talking to anybody who wants to have a conversation with me. It's, I end up learning something about myself as well. So thank you everybody for listening, and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thanks everyone. Thanks for listening to us. Stay happy, stay blessed, and most importantly, stay grateful. I'll see you another one. Bye.